Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the MJ names. So we're continuing to see a bit of a shift in some names and others still struggling. We have the G20 summit approaching. We have to be watching about Trump and China and whether a deal is coming or not. Democratic debates going on, nothing really pertaining to MJ at this point, and I don't really think that it will. And I think we have to narrow down the playing field before they get into more specific questions like that. But those are some things to be keeping an eye on. We have CGC breaking some resistances, so this is now a bit more convincing after our double bottom. So we broke the lower high everyday pattern. Now we're looking up at the most important resistance of 43.94 and 44.17. Anything under that is just a lower high, and the bulls have a lot of work to do. That's 10% away, a little bit less than that. It's about 8% from where we currently stand. So we're playing defense. Bulls are not going on offense yet, but at least they're giving themselves a fighting chance. Cron, no follow through. We did get a break, but remember we got this pattern. So it's not surprising that we are remaining inside this equilibrium at this point. Good sign for the bulls, the fact that they were able to clear the double top of 1612, but anything under 1690, just a lower high staying in this pattern. And again, I like it on the 2-day time frame. If we're going to look to smooth it out and make it, nope, no I don't. Wrong chart. So on the 1-day time frame, we've got our low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low, and this is looking like it's a lower high now at 1645. If we pull back at all tomorrow, we'll be looking back at 1525 support. Pretty much 1525 to 1645 is the range that I'm watching, and anticipating a break sometime next week, not likely tomorrow. ACB, nice follow through. So we're taking out resistance levels, which is a good sign. We've got 807 and 816 up ahead still. Looking at the weekly time frame, solid little bounce. We dropped to a lower low on the weekly with no follow through. It was a bear break by 12 cents, and bulls always love breaks of support with a lack of follow through. So we're watching to get over these daily exponential resistances. This is the first bull cross that we're looking at if it pulls off, but it would be the first bull cross since January, and after that we saw a very nice move up. So keeping an eye on that. Our new support short term is 736, and the bulls want to create as much space as they can off of their bottom, because again, we reach a point where here we are in the summer, and after such a long, prolonged pullback, we start asking ourselves, can these names drop down? And ACB is only 10% off the low, so that's certainly possible, but I'm talking about names like MedMen, which we're going to look at, which would now need a 30% pullback to drop to lower lows, which I do not foresee happening. APHA, staying in its tight, broader range. We did break the inside bar bullish, and that tells us that our daily lower high compared to 760 has not been set yet. And the reason is we have a higher low every day for the last 4 days, so we haven't topped out on this move yet. We just traded sideways. So anything under 760 is still a lower high. The most important support is 635, and we can trade within this range for another 2 weeks, really. This is a longer, broader pattern. This is the one that I like on the 2-day time frame. And you can see we're just moving up to likely find our 2-day lower high. And probably mid-July is when we'll look for a break here unless there's some kind of news catalyst. TLRY, daily time frame, that's not updated. Don't know why that didn't update, but TLRY did not get follow through today. Attempted it, but a close down near the low, and we're looking back at 45.90. So that is a fake out. We're still looking for a support level to be found compared to 38.70, and we have not found it yet. Did we change the hourly trend? And you could say that we did. So that was a pretty brutal fake out there. Start to the bull move and then dropped it right back down. So a bit disappointing. The bulls obviously would have liked to have seen just straight up continuation on this daily time frame. The volume is still notably favoring the bulls from the way up, and there's no major red flags at this point on this consolidation. The bulls were just hoping that 45.90 was our higher low, because a continuation move from 45.90 certainly much easier than if we were to pull back lower into the lower $40 range. OGI. So OGI on the daily time frame inside bar, and I'm not sure why my candlesticks are not loading. We'll stick with it. So OGI on the daily time frame today got a little bit of follow through. The daily inside bar broke bullish, and we're looking at resistance of 856 and 888. So anything under 856 is just a daily lower high, but again, just lower lows with a lack of follow through. Bulls are holding on just fine, but now can they go on offense? Can they start to break resistances? Can they shift trends? And this is just the start of that attempt for OGI. Need trend changes on the daily time frame before bulls prove anything to me. Hexo, solid bounce. Nice move off the lows, taking back the 2 red days recently very quickly, but anything under 593 is just a lower high. We're going to be watching for the potential of an inverse head and shoulders pattern here with our left shoulder. If we cannot break 593 and we form just a daily lower high, then a higher low, then we get the bull break. That's the trend change, and that's something that we're keeping an eye out on if we cannot break 593, which still requires a 10% move. So I would doubt if the bulls are able to break that resistance level on the first attempt. TRST, still very weak. Bulls not proving anything. 729 is the line in the sand for me. Get over that level to prove anything. Otherwise, bulls prove nothing. 650 is support. And if 650 breaks, we're looking down at 6 psychological. So definitely one of the weaker names, not seeing green today when a lot of other individual names were seeing green today. VFF, daily inside bar, but a close at the high of the day. Anything under 1279 is just a lower high. Remember, we're looking for a daily trend change to give us our 2-week lower or 2-week higher low. So I like the 2-week time frame for clarity here. High, low, lower high, and we're scouting our higher low with exponential support here, but we need a daily trend change. And I don't anticipate we're going to break 1279 on this bounce. So this too would need to be an inverse head and shoulders if the bulls are going to form that support level. Left shoulder anticipating a lower high compared to 1279, and then we would need the higher low and then a bull break. So if the sector as a whole were to continue to shift, I would be scouting for, if this does play out, if we do top out near $12, I'd be scouting for a higher low and playing off of 1081 support, looking for that shift. And it's because I'm confident in the 2-week longer term time frame and that pattern that would make me a bit more active trading this daily setup. T-God. So T-God still not proving anything. Daily exponential resistance, rejecting the price. Anything under 342, just a lower high. It's a potential bear flag at this point. And it's also a potential falling wedge. We're not going to lose sight of that. Again, there's a lot of these out there. And you could pretty much say that we rejected from that falling wedge today. Keep an eye on that pattern over the next week. VGW, still just straight across. So bulls are holding on. Look for a spike in volume. We have a pattern of declining volume 6 days in a row. I anticipate that's going to probably break tomorrow. And the bulls want to see it break with a break of 421 and 429. That would be a convincing break for continuation on this move. And again, VGW, as far as extraction plays, best, it's the lead bull because of the technical setup. Again, I haven't gone into the fundamentals of the extraction sector, but I can just say, based on this chart, clearly VGW is a name to be watching as we head towards the fall. IIPR, we had that 4-hour equilibrium that we were watching. It's still intact, but the bulls better show up. 115.89, and so far we've dropped down to 118.01. Still holding, potential bottom fishing play with this level tomorrow. If we lose that level, we are then in a daily downtrend with a lower high and lower low, which means zoom out and look for weekly consolidation with some upper wick showing that profit taking. So there is a play there tomorrow, and we'll see if 115.89 can hold. If it can, we'll look for a bounce and another 4-hour lower high in the mid 120s. CL. So CL today is still struggling, increasing bear volume. These are all red flags. This is now an equilibrium setup. So we've got our low, high, And now we're scouting our higher low. We never changed the hourly trend to tell us that our higher low was established. I guess you could say, no, even then it wasn't a clear hourly trend change. So we need an hourly trend change. It's worth starting to scout an entry. Let's see if the hourly RSI is oversold. Not just yet, but if we see red tomorrow, oversold hourly RSI when we're scouting a daily higher low, worth keeping an eye out. And then we would just look for a bounce and a lower high in the lower 14s. CWeb, daily higher low has been found. Inside bar broke bullish, so we have our low, high, higher low is now 1714, and all eyes are on 2070. If we break it, we confirm a daily trend change, and if we reject, then we have an equilibrium, which will probably play out until the end of next week, maybe even the start of the following week. So this is what CL bulls are hoping for a higher low to form, and then for the tightening range. CURA. Still weak, bulls not doing anything. Again, we're watching the potential of falling wedges in this sector. And if I were looking at a falling wedge, there is where it would be. And you could draw that downtrend resistance line a little bit differently if you wanted to include these previous levels, but that's essentially what we're watching. Lower lows with no follow through, but the bull's not doing anything and not even putting 2 green days in a row together over the last 3 weeks. I'm keeping an eye out on Curaleaf, but there is no sign of the bulls just yet. OH is giving us a bit of a red flag. So again, my positions right now, I sold at MedMen today. I'll go over that. OH, still have it. IAN, still have it. That's all I've got right now. Just want to stay transparent. But for OH, we have our trend change today and a lack of follow through. So what does a trend change with a lack of follow through mean? It means zoom out and look for the potential of a flag. And this is a potential weekly bear flag right now. And we cannot disregard that whatsoever. So bull break occurred and we closed fairly weak. This is now a key support level for me. I was fortunate enough with my entry that if I use that level as my stop, I'm going to still walk away profitable no matter what on this trade. I'd like this to be a long-term holding, but because of how that weekly chart looks and because of how many times I've seen a pattern like this with a lack of follow-through confirm into a bear flag, I will exit if 850 support breaks. I'll lock in my profit and then I'll keep an eye on it, but it's just exactly what I don't want to see happen in a long-term position. So it's all about 850. Resistance is 955. And what does the hourly chart look like? That's definitely more pullback than the bulls would like to see. That being said, it is still an hourly uptrend. So the red flag won't really come until we confirm an hourly downtrend with a lower high and lower low. TRUL. So bulls not doing anything here either. Got some follow through to start today. This is an inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. It's not my ideal kind because the right side already broke the left side. I like when it's still a clear downtrend of lower highs and the bull break breaks both sides of the neckline resistance at the same time. But we have our low, high of the bull move. Higher low is now set at 1354 and the bulls have to break 1517 to change this daily trend, and certainly a weak day today with no follow through on the little daily inside bar bull break. So TRUL and Curaleaf are not showing us anything as far as bounces go. And there's a few other names out there that aren't showing us anything as well. Hexo was not one of them. It was TRST. So again, we can very easily compartmentalize these different names. Names that are still very weak. Names that have changed their daily trends. Names that are not likely going to hit lower lows this summer. And that's a great way to organize these names. IAN. So some follow through on the daily, and we changed the 4-hour trend here. We were grinding the daily or the 4-hour exponential resistance. We had our high of the bounce, lower wicks on the 4-hour higher low, and then the trend change at the end of the day into a higher high. We've got resistance of 442 and 478. The daily time frame is still not proving much. We still have the daily exponential resistance, which has been rejecting the price as long as anybody else, if not longer, almost 2 months. And actually it is 2 months with that level as resistance. So here we go to test that level, and anything under make that 478 is just a lower high. There is a little level right here at 442, but this is the clear resistance, 478, and it's also the weekly lower high on the candlestick, and trying to break that pattern for the bulls as well. So it's nice, definitely seeing the account reflect this bull move in IAN, because I don't usually swing positions, and I do have a swing IAN, but I'm not going to get my hopes up until the daily chart gives me a reason to. MedMen, great follow through today. So again, you look at this chart and you look at how weak we have been, and this is a Bitcoin chart. You look at cryptocurrencies and they all did this, but we pulled back so significantly, so long and drawn out for about 8 months, and then we have a bounce. And the size of this bounce at this point, like I said, we need a 29% drop to go to lower lows. I do not see how sentiment can get that ugly again unless some very bearish news comes out, but I don't foresee a lower low. I think this is our bottom for the foreseeable future. The daily trend has changed. This is great follow through today on that trend change. Lack of resistance at these levels. We're just looking at 356 and then up to 373. I sold my position today for a number of reasons. Number one, I'm focused on cryptocurrency volatility in the short term as long as that's keeping up. And number two, it was a smaller position, so it's not like I'm leaving a whole bunch of money on the table. Essentially, I just wanted to do some house cleaning, get rid of that position, lock in that profit. It ended up being a day maker after holding it for multiple days, but again, starting with that smaller position makes it less worthwhile for me. But there is no reason to be selling right now if you don't have that kind of scenario going on. I just wanted to be able to focus on cryptocurrency and a couple swing trades and get rid of MedMen, but it's got a bull cross of these exponential moving averages. We will need to see daily consolidation sooner rather than later, because we've essentially seen a 31% move without much daily consolidation at all. But the bulls are strong. Hourly consolidation is due as well tomorrow, so you don't want to be chasing this tomorrow. Tomorrow's the kind of day where if we start with some strength in the morning, I personally would look to lock in a little bit of profit as that hourly RSI approaches 80. And last, we'll wrap it up with GTII. Daily time frame, a little bit more follow through. But again, if we get a red day tomorrow and a red day Monday, that's a daily trend change and a lack of follow through, just like OH, which would mean caution for a weekly bear flag. So there's some names that look like their weekly bottom is set. There's some names that look like weekly bear flags that can still save it to make those bear flags negated. We have names that are not seeing any bullish action on the daily time frame that are in falling wedges that could see bull breaks. There's a lot going on in the sector, although it does not seem like it. There's a lot going on as far as positioning and slow shifts going on. And the question is, will we get significant clear shifts where everybody else in the world, the herd, if they say, okay, sentiment has shifted? Because the things that we're looking at now, these little details, the weakest names getting the strongest bounces, these patterns, this is not what the herd is looking at. We're a little bit more advanced than the herd, which is why we look to get in moves before the herd and hopefully profit more. So let's keep an eye out there in terms of social media. If the sentiment starts to shift, really just one solid green day for SPY and the MJ sector as a whole, where we see names going 5 to 10%, that would really do it as far as changing that narrative. But that's what we're watching for here as we enter July. Sell in May, go away is, I think, going to be overplayed this year. We'll see. Appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. More baby ducks. See you over the weekend.
You